Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where we honor our nation's veterans by preserving and sharing their stories. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m. To learn more about our mission, watch veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2026. We're talking with Brad Foss, who served in the United States Army. So good afternoon, Brad.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for taking time out to talk with me today.
Not a problem.
All right, we're going to kick it off with the hard questions first.
Oof, jeez.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Janesville, Wisconsin in 1966.
All right. And did you grow up in Janesville?
I did grow up in Janesville. I stayed there until I went into the Army right around 19.
Okay. And talk to me about growing up in Janesville, Wisconsin. That's one place I have not been.
At the time that I was living there, it was probably about the whitest town you'd ever want to walk into. I didn't really realize just how white it was until I went into the Army and went, oh my, there's there's people of other colors.
Well, it's funny because I talk to people all the time, and I hear them say things like, when I went to basic training, that was the first time I ever met someone who didn't look like me, right?
Yeah.
Who was black.
Well, other than the fact that we had Vietnamese refugees that had relocated to our area, so we knew a lot of those guys, and there was a lot of because of them moving in, we had a lot of the Vietnamese restaurants and those kind of things, and so got to know those people. It was the first time when we after Vietnam that we started getting those people come in, and it was they were all great people. I graduated with a few of them. In fact, my doctor was one of them.
Yeah,
so my pediatrician. So we got to know everybody pretty well, and it was a pretty tight knit community, even though it was a pretty good sized town. I mean, it was about 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, it was a pretty quiet town. Not a whole lot going on. 2 high schools. We had the East and the West Side high school. I went to the West Side, and we always have our crosstown rivalries every year for the sports games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One stadium in town where both teams played at. So
how'd you determine who was home field at that point?
It swapped off per year.
Okay.
So,
makes sense.
One year the East Side, Craig Cougars were the East Siders, and the Parker Vikings were the other one. So I was Parker.
Okay. Now, brothers and sisters?
I have one brother.
Uh-huh.
And he's also ex-military.
Okay.
He went the commission route.
Yeah.
But he's the one that when I went in, he decided that, well, maybe I'll go in too. And he actually got me a bump in rank because I brought somebody in with me. So it was like, oh, okay, instead of going in as, E0.
Right.
I went in as an E2. And, I had a little bit of college credits that helped me with that too.
Mm-hmm.
But, he went in and he went through basic training shortly after I did. And then he decided that he was going to go he didn't go OCS, he went ROTC.
Okay.
But
Let them pay for college and
Yep,
and all that.
Did all that stuff. And then, he got his commission and ended up, he was in the reserves, and he ended up getting out as captain.
Okay. All right. It's a good rank.
Yeah, it's a good rank.
I kind of like it. Yeah.
I know a lot of people that like that rank.
So is he older brother, younger brother?
Younger brother.
Okay. Was he the golden boy then?
No, but he was the jock.
Okay.
He was the jock. I was the nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And out of everybody that knew the both of us, I would have been the one that they would have thought would have never considered going into the service. That, that I was going to be the homebody. I was going to stick around Janesville.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one that ended up going the furthest away. I lived in Germany for 3 years when I was my actually first and only duty station when I was in.
Yeah. Well, I think we surprise people sometimes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Like I said, they thought that, because I was kind of quiet,
mm-hmm.
and, liked music, and just, I was like, whatever, and I was a good student, but my brother was the one that was on the honor roll.
Right.
I could have been on the honor roll had I decided that I wanted to apply myself. But as we were talking about with your brother, it was easy for me, so I didn't care.
Right. Right. I think people miss that too, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times people mistake that for laziness, but you're bored.
Yeah.
Like when school is not challenging you, you're bored. And that's a great opportunity to drop out or just not do anything.
Yeah. Well, I finished.
Well,
I couldn't drop out because my parents would have hung me up for that one. It wouldn't have happened. But
and talk to me about your parents, by the way.
they're still around.
Yeah.
And just about ready to turn 82.
Wow.
And my dad was a hairdresser. My mom was a legal secretary. And they were pretty big in the community as far as, being known around there. One little piece of nostalgia for my family.
Yeah.
My mom at one point in time, I do believe I recall her saying that she dated Bud Selig.
Really?
For a very short time. Bud's from Janesville.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. So when he owned the Brewers, we would get tickets sporadically to go to the county stadium, and they were always down the first baseline.
Clearly, he still had fond memories of your mother, then.
Uncle Bud took care of us. I'm not going to say anything bad about the man. I know there's a lot of people that do, but I'm not going to say anything bad about him.
Yeah, I guess you can't.
No, but like I said, they were both worked their behinds off. Blue collar family, and we had them. Yeah, I wanted for nothing, so I can't say that. It was a good childhood. I often wish I could go back to it.
Yeah, I think we reach an age where sometimes we're like, oh, that would be great.
God, I would love to have that again.
Yeah. So what kind of nerd things did you do in school?
Well, I was one of the first ones. They had a brand new computer class. So I was one of the first ones in the brand new computer courses that we're going through when we were going through high school. And we had our old Apple IIes, and we were learning how to program in BASIC and do all kinds of stuff. So I would learn some of that stuff and go home on my parents' Apple IIe and make all kinds of goofy noises. My mom would be sitting there screaming, going, "What? Why is the computer doing this? It shouldn't be doing this."
Good time was had by all, right?
Yeah. Learn how to be mischievous at that point in time because you know stuff and that others don't.
Right. You might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah. So besides the computer club, I mean, I did a lot of reading, and I was, big into music. So I was one of the music nerds. So instead of, I tried being an athlete, I was not good at it.
Yeah. What sport did you try?
I tried baseball. I tried football. Football didn't last very long because I intercepted a pass and got headed right in the lower back. And I was a tiny guy at the time. I mean, I graduated high school at 125 pounds. So I was skin and bones, and I got walloped with a helmet right in the back. And doctor told me after that one, he goes, "You take one more shot like that," he goes, "you're probably not going to walk." Like, okay.
Tough choice, right?
Tough choice. So I was like, all right, well, I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
But I did basketball. I wasn't good enough to make the high school basketball team, so I was always doing church leagues, that kind of stuff. So it just, me and my friends, we hung up together. We would, do games of basketball and stuff like that. And just, that seemed like to be the big game right around there at that time. I got my arm broken in our backyard at the house because we were playing backyard football, and, running back the kickoff, took a head right to the arm, laying on the ground going, "Yeah, my arm's broken. I heard that. I heard it crack."
Yeah, so it's not like you didn't try sports, because you really did.
I tried it.
Out. Yeah,
I tried. Yeah. Trust me, I learned through trial and error that I was not good at this stuff.
So what drew you to music?
The fact that it came easy. My grandfather, everybody tells me, he was one of those guys like your brother who would just pick something up.
By the way, like my grandfather. My grandfather was a bluegrass musician. So
yeah, absolutely. So my grandfather, he would pick up an instrument, play it.
Yeah.
And everybody would be like, "How are you doing that?" Well, that was me when it came to, they would put instruments in front of me, and, especially stringed instruments. And it was like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can play that." Wow. And so it came real easy. And when I wanted to have guitar lessons, my parents were like, "Okay, well, you can go ahead and have guitar lessons if you want, but you need to learn piano first." I'm like, "No, I don't want, I'm not interested in learning piano." And then later on in life, one of the bands that I was in, I actually played piano in the band. It was with Brooke. And so we did that. And my mom was like, when did you learn how to play piano? I go, well, when I went to music school, I says, everything that we did revolved around the piano. And so even when we were doing vocal training, you had to know where the notes were on the piano so you could sit there and sing along with it. And, I just kind of got adept that, okay, this is how we do it. I mean, not that I was a great piano player, but yeah, I could sit there, do some chords, show some people. Yeah, I'm a little more talented than you thought I was.
Good enough, right?
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. Well, and the piano's really a stringed instrument, so not much different from the guitar.
Not much different,
comes
but
to like chord progression and things like that.
But when you're looking at a piano, you're looking at both the high end and the low end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're chording, but you're also running the bass line as well as running a potential guitar line at that point too. So you got the melody line, and you're keeping the bass with one hand and doing the melody line with the other. And, I can see where a lot of people give up on it after a while because even for me, when I was sitting down with it, it got kind of frustrating for a while because it was like, oh, geez, I'm not used to, this hand does this and this hand, because I'm used to this.
Right. The strum hand just strums.
Yeah, the strum hand. Look at me, monkey plays string, yay.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like my brain doesn't work that way. Like I always thought drums were cool until I realized that your foot has to do one thing, your left hand's doing something, your right hand's doing something else, and your left foot's doing something else.
The funny thing about it was I've never had a problem with drums.
Really?
I sat down on the drums. My uncle was a drummer. And we would go over to his house and I would sit down on, he had a ginormous kit. So I would sit down on his kit and he used to like to set his stuff up like what Cozy Powell used to set his up. All the toms were flat. So when you went around the kit, you had to be up and go flat around everything. So I actually learned the Cozy Powell method of doing this kind of stuff before I went, oh, you mean you can turn those heads? Like, oh, that's so much easier.
Right. More like the Rush method.
Yeah, more like the Rush method. But I found when I sat down with it to be able to have my foot doing the kick drum and my hands doing whatever they needed to do, it was like, oh, okay. Well, it just, that one came naturally. So in the bands that I've been in, I've played, and mostly it's been bass, but I've played guitar, played drums, played keyboards, and I've been lead singer in most of the bands that I've been in.
So I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But I got to ask this question because I see it all over the internet. What's the deal with bass players? Like they get no respect.
Yes, but we bring some of it on ourselves.
I mean, you do get respect, but you get no respect.
We get no respect. Most of it is because we're very self-deprecating because we're more of a rhythm instrument.
Right.
We're supposed to lock in with a kick drum. And, the deal is, how do you know you've got a good bass player? Nobody knows you're there.
You're like salt, right?
Yeah.
Like if the food didn't have salt, you would know something was missing. You just wouldn't know what it was.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, we're that little bit of spice that, you know if it was missing, but you wouldn't know exactly what it was. But, and so many people say that bass should be felt and not heard, which, is another way of looking at it. And I've been mixed both ways. But when the last band I was in Minnesota, I was, I was a little more controlling over my tone because I was like, nah, I don't want to be one big low end rumble. I want people to hear what I'm doing as well as feel it. Yeah. So I'd actually taken control of all that stuff from the stage and just fed them a line and said, you know what, I want to run that flat.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, okay, so let's go back to school though. I don't want to leave anything out here. So you were you in the school band then?
I was in jazz band.
Okay.
I didn't play any of the marching band instruments or any of the rest of that. I just played guitar at the time, and there was really nobody else in our class that played guitar. So it was me and one other guy.
Were you the cool guy at the party with the guitar then?
No, I
Not
wasn't.
at all.
No, I did that a couple of times, and it was like, you're going to end up like John Belushi. And no.
Right. Or there's a guy, I've seen the commercial where the guy's getting ready to play the ukulele at a party, and his friend takes it away from him. Like, don't do that.
Yes, I learned real quick that people who play guitar at parties are not the most favorite.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, I think I was a little more interested in drinking. When I get there, it was like, hey, where's the alcohol?
Right. I'm not going to play guitar. I'm going to get drunk. Yeah, I could see that. So you get through high school, you graduate.
Yep.
Now, did you join the military right after high school?
Nope.
Then?
Nope. I graduated in '84. I didn't go into service until '87.
Okay. So what happens after high school?
Right after high school, I got a couple of jobs. Right out of high school, I had a warehouse job that was somebody that my parents knew, and they were looking for part-time help. They were liquidating like an old insurance company or something like that. So they had all this paperwork that had to be done. So originally I'd started in the front area where they were doing the processing of all the paperwork, and we had to go through that. And after a while, people would come and go because it was a temporary position. I stayed there until the very end of things.
Oh, okay.
And so by the time that ended up, I had gone from in front to in back, moving the cases around, everything. So I was more warehouse work at that point in time. But I stayed there until they closed the doors on that project. And after that, I got a job with the big grocery store in town, Woodman's. And I started working there. And that was a real good position at the time because they were a union shop. And we got more than what everybody else got.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for 4 years. It was 84 to 87. So it was 3 years before I went into the service. And when I left there, I didn't leave. I went on military leave of absence.
Oh, okay. So
I decided early on in 1987, after I'd been through a year of college, we had a UW extension college where you could get your basics done right there in town.
Yeah.
So I was going to night school during that point in time. And I got through a year of that and realized I'm just not into this. And the schooling is just not for me. I've got to be doing something.
Right.
And so after looking around and realizing, because Woodman's at the time, they still do, but they have a liquor store as well. So at the time I had made it up to assistant manager of the liquor store. And I knew that there was a glass ceiling right there because the manager of the place had been with him since the get-go and he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm never going to be the manager of this place. And if I have to move up anywhere, I'm going to have to move out of the liquor store. So I'm looking around for things to do, and the Army commercials came on TV, and
you wanted to be all you could be, right?
Be all that you can be. Yeah, well, I don't know if I was everything I could be, but yeah.
What's the other one? We do more before 6 a.m. than most people do all day.
Yeah,
which to me wasn't really a selling point.
No, it really wasn't, because I'm not an early riser.
No. I guess not. So you were like, okay, I got to do something. So why the Army?
I went in originally and talked to the recruiters. I started out with the Army. I was going to go check out some of the other services. I pretty much already ruled out the Marines because I knew that those were the tough guys, and I just wasn't a tough guy.
Either you're a Marine or you're not a Marine. That's just how that
you
works.
Either have that mentality or you do not.
Right.
And the Marines that I served with, great people, lunatics, all of them.
Necessary, but still lunatics.
Absolutely necessary, and they were the greatest people ever, but God, they were lunatics. And so I was going to look at Army and the Air Force and the Navy as well. My best friend went into the Navy right out of high school. And he was telling me all about it, and that's why I was probably going to go to the Navy last, because I'd heard what you have to do for the Navy, and you got to have so much sea duty while you're in. And I'm just like, well, I don't know how well I'm going to do on a ship. I don't know. And went into the Army recruiter and talked to them and took the ASVAB tests and all the rest of that stuff. And they told me what I qualified for. I guess I scored pretty high on things. And they told me what I qualified for, because I told them, I was like, I want something technology related.
Yeah.
I want a technical role. And it came about that, okay, well, we've got these, 29 Fox positions here that, you could be a fixed station, secure COMSEC equipment repair. Well, in English, what does that mean?
Sounds cool, but what does it really mean?
Yeah, well, it sounds cool, but what it really meant was that you're a glorified phone repairman.
Yeah.
But I was good with that. It was both voice and data networks. So I was like, that sounds interesting enough. I think I will take that direction. I'm sure I probably could have gotten something similar from the Air Force and maybe gotten up in rank a little bit quicker.
A little cushier, too.
Yeah, a little
maybe.
cushier.
Right? Yeah. So you, how long from enlistment to boot camp then? How long were you in delayed entry, or were you in delayed entry at all?
I was not delayed entry.
So you just shipped right away.
I shipped out. I signed the paperwork. I was at the MEP station the next week.
Wow. Okay.
And I was out of town.
And where'd you take your basic?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
What time of year was this?
I went in April, so I got done in June.
Oh, the chilly season then.
Yes, the chilly season. Yeah. Did have a couple of people didn't make it because one of the guys was from Alaska, and he was in the Alaska National Guard, and his body would not adapt to the heat.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, you were lucky Wisconsin still kind of got hot summers. So,
we got some really hot summers, but yeah, especially down there in southern Wisconsin.
Right.
People don't think it gets warm there, but it's muggy.
Yeah. So talk to me about getting to basic training, that first couple of minutes that you're there. What was that like for you?
Well, here's the funny thing about it. I had just watched Full Metal Jacket not a couple months before I went in.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but so I joined the military in the 80s. You had to watch that before you went to basic training. You had to.
And what was bad about that, it was great because it kind of clued me in. Well, this is what was going on. What was bad about that is I started hearing the same lines from the drill sergeants that I heard from Arlie Ermy in the movie. And I'm like, oh God, don't laugh. And oh my God. But yeah, it was getting off and getting herded around, being in the cattle cars and all the rest of that stuff, and walking in and getting your head shaved, and oh yeah, lots of fun.
Oh yeah. So in I'm just curious. So when you were in school and after, did you have longer hair then?
I could not have longer hair when I was in school because my dad was a hairdresser.
Oh.
I was often a model for him. And I'd actually done some, modeling for other people before I went into the military. But yeah, I got.
You got the real deal when you went to boot camp, right?
I got the real deal when I went to boot camp. Yeah, I was, I'd never seen myself with that short of hair.
Yeah. It makes everything look different, doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. And in fact, I still have the picture from basic training, and I look at that and go, oh man, not a good look.
These are things I don't want to do again.
Yes, exactly. And I realize just how oddly shaped my head is.
Right. That's why we have hair.
Well, and that's the reason why I have long hair, because
Exactly.
with how goofy my head is shaped is the way I feel it is, that I was like, you know what? I look better with longer hair to cover up all that mess.
Probably a perfectly normal head, but we're all harder on ourselves.
Yep.
So how was boot camp for you? And the reason I really want to know is because you were clearly not an athlete in high school.
Nope.
So now you're in basic training, which is all about physical training, right?
Yep.
How was that for you?
Hard.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. I ended up in sick call a couple of times and ended up having to have them give me a prescription of ibuprofen because my body was not responding well to the exercise.
Yeah.
And then one of the other times I went in, I had one of the Army doctors ask me, do you really want to be here? They were going to chapter me out.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I don't want to be out. I came here for a reason. And I pushed myself, I probably harder than I should have, but it was a good thing. I look back on basic training with a little bit of fondness, actually, because, there was the discipline and just figuring out how far you could push your body.
Yeah.
And, to this day, I mean, I'm not too long ago just had contact with one of my drill sergeants from basic training.
How was that? That had to be kind of cool.
Blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, after we graduated from basic training, a bunch of us, since we were just down the road in Augusta for training, we had gone back to Fort Jackson afterwards and talked to this one drill sergeant. He's from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Heffelfinger. Gee, can you imagine that?
It's a fine Irish name.
Yeah. And, and he was the whitest guy you'd ever want to meet. My God, when he called cadence, it was the whitest thing you've ever heard in your life. He would do it for a while, then you get Drill Sergeant Booth, who's black, and he's got rhythm. And boy, we were flowing then. He get Heffelfinger come back in. It was like,
what are we doing?
What are we doing? Oh my God.
Stepping on your own feet and all that stuff.
But he was a blast. We came back and visited him after we were in school, and we had actually been his first rotation of men. He had had 2 rotations of women before that. He was a newer drill sergeant, and he was just so keyed up to see us, and took us down to the PX and got us beers and everything. We sat there and shot the crap for a while. But yeah, we kept in touch with him. Occasionally here and there, I'll remember to send him a message. But yeah, he doesn't approve of this, obviously. But,
right. But you can get past it, right?
We got past that.
Right. You just say, look, my head's shaped funny. I need this.
Yeah, I got to cover this up because it's an image thing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And go on the internet and check out Brad's pictures, by the way. It is an image for sure. So you're in basic training. How long was basic for the Army?
At the time, it was 8 weeks.
Okay, so you did your 8 weeks. Did your family come down for graduation?
They did. My parents came down for graduation. Yeah. And during the whole time, I started out just being the guidon for the platoon. And as the situation went on, as I was talking about that one guy from Alaska that didn't make it through, it was... we were actually going through the low crawl exercise, live fire. Yeah. And he was ahead of me as we were going through underneath the barbed wire. And all of a sudden he stops. And was like, Jack, come on, gotta get moving. He wasn't moving. And then Drill Sergeant Heffelfinger, I go, Sergeant Heffelfinger. He's like, what? Jack's not moving. I've never seen anybody move through barbed wire so fast as that. It was like it didn't even exist. Yeah. He leapt through all this stuff, all this meth, ripped open the barbed wire, got him out of there. And they had one of those big blister bags full of water. A bunch of us ended up taking the whole thing off the clips and just dousing him down in water as Sergeant Heffelfinger was just sitting there, don't you die on me, Jack. Don't you die on me. I'm like, I didn't, I had no idea at the time just how dire the situation was. He had actually just physically collapsed. And so I ended up, he was assistant squad leader for the second squad. I ended up taking his spot in the second squad during that whole situation while I was still the guidon. And the squad leader for second squad just happens to be one of my best friends now, still to this day. He lives up in Minnesota, Steve Furstenberg. And when I moved up there, we reconnected and everything. But yeah, he was a great guy. But the one thing about Steve was he was a little too easygoing to be a squad leader. I was more of the foot in the ass for second squad.
Get things done.
Yeah.
So how long were you were the guidon bearer for the whole time?
For basic training. Yeah, I was the guidon for the whole platoon.
So anyone listening to this who did not serve in the military, that's a physical job.
Yep.
Guidon bearer, especially if you're doing like a company run or you're doing a ruck march, because you're not just up front. A lot of times you're circling around and you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So you must have been in pretty good shape by the end of basic training.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to stick around with the whole thing. 'Cause, even though the doctors were asking me, if I really wanted to be there or not.
Yeah.
No, this was something I really wanted to do. And with a lot of things, if you're interested in it, you jump in with both feet.
Right.
And you get out of it what you put into it. And I was going to put in 110%. I certainly wasn't Forrest Gump and could put my weapon back together in record time, but
Right. You got it done, right?
I got it done and felt pretty good about it.
So when your family came down for graduation, how'd your dad feel about your haircut at that point? Was he like, what did they do to you?
Oh, no, he thought at that point in time that was the best haircut he'd ever seen me have.
Okay. Very nice.
That's a fine looking haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was one of those that, believed that if you had long hair, you were never going to find a real good job because nobody's going to hire you if you got long hair.
Right.
Well, Dad, things aren't that backwards anymore.
It's not the 1940s anymore.
Yeah. Even it's not even Vietnam era. It's not the 60s.
Right. And now people have tattoos and get jobs. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after graduation, was your AIT right there at Fort Jackson then? Or
No, I was down the road, 60 miles down the road in Augusta, Georgia. So I was at Fort Gordon.
Oh, okay. All right. Lovely Fort Gordon.
Lovely Fort Gordon.
So out of the fire, really into the fire, or out of the firing pan into the fire then, because it's still pretty hot down in Georgia.
It was pretty hot, but we didn't do a whole lot outside.
Uh-huh.
I mean, outside of PT in the morning, we didn't do a whole lot outside. It was, you do your PT in the morning, come back, get, cleaned up, go to chow, and then they'd march you off to school, and you were in a building all day long.
So was your AIT experience a lot different than basic? Because I know a lot of people go right from basic to AIT, and it doesn't seem like it's any different at all.
It was different because it was just more relaxed.
Yeah.
There were still drill sergeants there, but they were just there as, babysitters, essentially.
Right. Keep you out of trouble.
Keep you out of trouble. And, they were there to watch over everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and, but outside of that, we'd go in, we had civilian instructors for the most part. And, most of them were obviously ex-military. So they
Right.
I remember the one that we had was a big knife guy. And if people were falling asleep in class, he had one knife that he had greased up really nice, but it was, it had a lock blade on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people falling asleep in class, just all of a sudden, clack! We'll wake you up.
Right. Right. Probably couldn't get away with a whole lot because they were prior military.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, I was actually really interested in the stuff that I was doing. So, there wasn't a whole lot of goofing off for me when it came to that kind of stuff. I was, we got to that was one of the things I was actually interested about being in the military was that they took you in and you actually started they trained you for your job right there. And you started doing stuff immediately. It wasn't like college where, you got to take this class. Well, what do I need this class for? I don't need.
Why do I need English? Why do I need, right?
Yeah. So, why do I need this liberal arts degree?
Exactly.
But no, with the military, and that was my goal, was the fact that, I wanted to be more like a technical school.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to train me what I need to do, and I want to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. But I ended up, school went much longer because they gave me a couple extra added skill identifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to stick around Fort Gordon for a little bit longer. It was me and a couple of guys, one other guy from Wisconsin and one guy from California, that we were kind of all together. And when we got stationed together for some reason, and we got out at the same time, all the rest of this. So it was like one of the guys I still talk to.
Yeah.
And, so we got our additional skill identifiers, and we were there down at Fort Gordon for probably close to 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
which is, odd for a lot of people going through AIT, because normally their AIT is a couple months and you're shipped off.
Right.
In this
Unless
case,
you get in trouble and you're there for a long time, or you do really well.
you do really well, or you don't do real well and you get kicked back a couple of courses and have to retake things.
Yeah.
We did run into a few of those guys, but at that point in time, they usually got involuntarily reclassed. If you couldn't pass some equipment sometime, it was like, you might want to be doing something else.
Well, that's kind of nice thing about the military school too, is you find out rather quickly whether or not this is the skill set that you have, right? Whereas in college, you could go 4 or 5 years and not figure out that this isn't where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty immediate.
Those of us who were, went through with us, I mean, we were all pretty sure and we were all good at this stuff. So, I mean, we came in and the stuff that I was doing was going to be limited maintenance anyway. So, I mean, I didn't have to go down to, component level on any of the boards or any of that stuff. So.
Yep. I remember those days, troubleshooting down to the circuit board and then toss it, go get a new one.
Well, actually,
some of you had to exchange in because.
Yeah, we'd have to exchange them. We'd take them to the full maintenance facility and they would do the component work.
Some smarter person there would do the hard job.
Smarter person that could have done that.
Thank you for the air quotes, because that's what I was thinking over here. Some smarter person. I have my own opinions on that. So, so you're there for 9 months, and then what happens after AIT?
I got shipped off to Germany. Oh. And here, in true military fashion, here's our military intelligence story. When they ask you when you come in, do you have any additional skills? Do you speak any extra languages, that kind of stuff? And at the time, I spoke fluent Spanish. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's a lot of, we got a lot of guys going down to Panama. I'm probably going to end up going down to Panama. Orders came down. Germany.
That's a huge Spanish-speaking country, right?
Yeah, a lot of Spanish speakers over there. So I ended up learning German. It was a good thing I learned languages pretty easily, even though German's not exactly the easiest language to get your head around.
I feel like you have to be angry to speak German. It seems like a very angry language.
It helps.
Yeah.
It helps, but the way they form their words is, for somebody who speaks English, it's kind of odd, but then any people that speak other languages, they probably look at us and go, why are you doing that? Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
But with German, I mean, they run their words together. And I'm like, oh my, you see this word that's like 15 characters long and you're like, how do I even go about pronouncing that? But you learn, when I got over there, they put you through a couple-week course right away once you get in country to, get you acclimated and, get you into conversational German at the least.
Right.
So you can at least, if you go into a restaurant or something like that, you can converse with people enough.
You can find the bathroom, you can order food, you can do the things you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where were you at in Germany?
Stuttgart.
Okay. And you're doing your job now, right?
Yeah. We got in there and pretty much from the get-go, you're assigned to a team. We had, because everything was secure, and we also, some of us had to wait a little bit longer for our security clearances to come through because we were TSSBI. Mm-hmm. So we had the same security clearance as the 4-star general on post. Because we were in his office quite often.
Right.
And but they would assign us 2-man teams as we went out for every shift. Mm-hmm. There was an A and a B. So one person had the outside, the A combination. The other person had the B inside combination. Mm-hmm. So
were you an A or a B?
It all depended on what year.
Oh, so
when we get people leave or, new people come in, whatever, they would decide, okay, well, Foss, you're going to be a B this time.
Okay.
Don't care.
Yeah.
And then, they would, because they changed the combination to the A combination. New people come in, everything changes.
Right.
And because we were the holders of all the crypto material.
Right.
So all that key mat went through us.
Very top secret stuff, actually.
It is very top secret stuff. And our facility was a secure facility. We had 2 doors. You didn't get in there. There was no windows.
Right.
You didn't get in there unless somebody was going to let you in or you had the badge.
You knew all the right stuff, then you could go in, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how did you like Germany, though?
I loved it.
Did you?
Loved it. It was a great time. I don't think I could have gone anywhere better.
Yeah.
And where Stuttgart sits, it's just far enough off the Alps that you're kind of in a little valley that it's really temperate there. So it never really got above 70 degrees and it never really got below 30.
Wow.
I saw snow 3 times in the 3 years that I was over there. Outside of that, it was beautiful weather and, good food, great beer. I lived off post, so I got to know, our neighbors were not military, so I got to know some of the Germans over there, and they would take us down. Our city during the summer would have a festival every 2 weeks during the summer.
Oh, every 2 weeks, not just one.
Every 2 weeks.
Wow.
You would go down, and it was sponsored by the local brewery, and go down, get some beer, get a half a chicken, and sit there and listen to the Oompa band for a while, and swing your beers around, and it was a blast.
Nice.
And just hang around and commune with people for a while. And, it was close enough to our house that we didn't have to drive. We just walked down. It was like 3 blocks down from our apartment, and go down with half the neighborhood and sit around and listen to some good Oompa music.
So is that pretty typical that people would live off post then?
No.
Oh.
No, it was about half and half. But,
Okay.
because I was lower in rank, I didn't get to live on post.
Okay.
The on-post housing was mostly for senior people.
Okay. All right.
So, and they did have some military billet style, apartment buildings and stuff like that in other areas. They weren't available when I came in. So I was able just to get an apartment off post.
Nice way to do it though, right?
Yeah, and they paid my rent.
Yeah.
Darn.
So when you think about Germany and your time there, other than the beer and the Oompa music, what really sticks out in your mind? Like what's something that you really like think about when you think about your time in Germany?
Just the land. Germany is a gorgeous country, and I live just off of the Black Forest. So just the terrain over there with the rolling hills, and we're driving down, closer to the Alps and go and see the Alps. I'd never seen mountains that huge before in my life. And, got to go down to Fusen to see Neuschwanstein, and take the tram all the way up to the top of the mountain up there where they have the ski resort and everything. I was up there during the summer though.
Right.
And it's weird taking the tram up there, and you go up past the clouds as you're going up. And next thing you know, you're looking down going,
that's pretty high up.
It's really high.
I didn't realize it was that high up.
Oh yeah, it's very high. And, got to do and the time that I spent outside while I was over there, they had so many awesome trails that you could walk. And a lot of times I live close enough to post that I would just ride my bike into post.
Yeah.
There was trails that went, the off-roads from everywhere, and it took you right to our post. I was like, cool. And
that is awesome.
yeah, and the people over there were really nice. I mean, I love the people, love the area we were in. There were some people over there that were not too fond of Americans, but for the most part, we got treated really nice.
Yeah.
And, we became members of the community while we were over there. And it was fun.
Did that make it difficult to leave, do you think? Or was that an easy choice?
It made it kind of difficult to leave, but by the time I'd been over there for 3 years, I was ready to get back to the States.
Yeah.
I was just, when I was thinking about it, I think, yeah, I remember all the good times about being over there, but I also remember, boy, when I was getting ready to leave, it was like, yeah, I'm ready to go.
And now you ETS'd out then as you left Germany, or did you come back to the States and then get out?
I ETS'd out from Germany.
Okay.
So I got out just shortly after the Gulf War. So I was held over, but I ended up getting out 2 days early.
Okay.
Because I was in the massive flushing after they said to everybody, well, okay, any of the holdovers, you're not re-upping, you're out. So I had all those household goods and everything that I had to schedule to get shipped out, and everything, and all the Army furniture and the rest of the stuff that had to go back.
Right.
But yeah, literally I think they gave me 3 weeks to out process over there, and I was hoofing it. And I got over there, they sent me back. Oh, I remember that too. We didn't end up going out from Stuttgart. We ended up going out through Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a chartered jet, and I believe it was Delta, that they had us sitting out on the tarmac for 8 hours because, there's something wrong with the plane. We can't figure out what's going on. They wouldn't let us get off the plane. So that was, me and my wife at the time were just sitting there going, what the heck is going on here? I've never been in a situation like that where, they pull us back from the gate and just had us sitting there on the tarmac and we couldn't leave. And finally they were like, okay, well, we're going to have to pull back in. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Yeah. 8 hours. Wow. Thanks.
Yeah.
So did you get married when you were in Germany? Did I miss something?
I did get married when I was in Germany. She was from closer to my hometown.
Okay.
So it was American. I flew back. We got married.
Okay.
And that was one of the reasons why I could live off post. Because
Right.
I was married to him. Sorry, forgot to say that.
Oh, no. You say you're married. I'm like, wait a minute. We missed something here. So, did you know her from before you came in the service?
Yes.
Then? Okay.
Yeah, we'd actually been dating before I went in.
Yeah.
And we had broken up before I went into the military. And then after I came home on leave, one time we hooked back up again, and it was like, well, this might work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think that's like I don't know. It happened to me too. Like you get home and you're like, oh, well, this feels kind of nice and I'm kind of lonely. Let's get married. And then you're married.
well, I talked to her about that before I actually made any moves on getting married, and, tried to gauge her interest in potentially, because she was in college at the time. She was going to UW Milwaukee.
Okay.
And, I was like, well, I don't want to derail your college education or any of the rest of that stuff. I mean,
Right.
if you're not, but if we get together, I'm going to be moving around a lot. And she seemed to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she found out I was going to Germany. I'm like, okay, well, but
Yeah.
I proposed. We got married in a small ceremony before I actually shipped out for Germany, and then came back later on that year for the big wedding.
Right.
And then she came back with me
Nice.
at that point in time, and I had already secured housing and all the rest of that. So,
Right. Well, you got to enjoy Germany with someone that you cared about too. So, which was kind of nice. Yeah.
yeah, even though that didn't last very long. First marriage, trial run.
It happens. What do they
5
call it? A
years.
starter marriage?
Yeah, starter marriage. Yeah. We got back. Well, she told me before I was getting out, she told me that if I re-upped, that she was going to divorce me.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to re-up. And I had already been accepted to music school by that time. So music tech, it was accepted there. So I knew I was going to be moving up to Minneapolis to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got up there, we went to school, and she divorced me anyway.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice. The ultimatum either way.
it ended up being that way. I didn't really know, but she had her own issues going on, which I didn't really know about. And but whatever.
So I'm curious, I know you were in for 3 years. 4 years, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I know the answer is different for different people, but what was it like for you when you knew you were getting out and you're putting on the uniform for the last time and this is it, like I'm not going to do this anymore. But what was that like for you?
Let's take a quick break.
Before we continue, we'd like to share a resource that may be helpful to veterans and their families. The Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org is designed to connect veterans with support, resources, and a community that understands their experiences. If you or a veteran you know could benefit from those resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app and learn more at vetlifetoday.org.
It felt kind of weird right away because you get so used to being regimented that when your time is your own at that point, it's almost like what do I do? And it took me a little bit of time after getting out to reacclimate myself and figure out, okay, well, if I'm going to get anything done, I'm probably going to have to work kind of the way that I worked when I was in the military, and be a little more regimented about what I do. When I came back, we moved back to Janesville right away. They ETS us out from Frankfurt, and then we hit Fort Dix.
Oh, it lives up to its name.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
All
just say that.
Yeah. Jiggle the handle.
Yes.
So we flew back from there to Chicago, got picked up, and we lived at my parents' place for about 3 months before we moved up to Minnesota. So to circle back to the whole thing of Woodman's, I came back and went right back to work at Woodman's for that 3 months because I'd come back off a military leave of absence.
Right.
And I got all my seniority back and got a nice big bump in pay and all the rest of that, and peed a few people off because I got my old position back in the liquor store, which other people were doing that position now, and they weren't too happy with me.
Yeah.
But it is what it was. I mean, you don't look at them and go, well, how long have you been here? Oh, well, this is kind of seniority based, and I've got 7 years now. But I had to take one of the guys who was doing the assistant manager position, that he was a little PO'd about getting bumped down. I had to pull him aside one of the times in back and clue him into the fact that, you need to change your attitude, because I'm not going to be here for all that long. I'm just working the job until I move up north.
Yeah.
And after that, things got a little bit better. It's like, just cool your jets a little bit. Don't be such a panty waste.
Right.
And, me with my military training, I wasn't going to take any BS off of anybody at that point in time. And, being that I was E4P, on a PLDC and all the rest of that stuff. So,
Right.
I did get 2 sets of orders before I got out.
Okay.
One of the sets of orders were for Fort Huachuca.
I've never heard it referred to as that. That's great.
For the Signal Corps, Fort Huachuca is known as Fort Huachuca.
So interestingly enough, my uncle, who is 90 years old, was in the Army and in the Signal Corps. He's very familiar with Fort Huachuca. Anyway,
I'll bet he is.
Yeah, he's got anytime I tell him I talk to somebody who was Signal Corps or whatever, he gets all giddy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, hey, Signal Corps.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
There you go. He'll like that.
Yeah. The other set of orders that I got was for the White House Communications Agency. And for that, they were, the day you walk in, if you're not at least an E5, they're pinning E5 on you.
Uh-huh.
Because you can't be a junior NCO in that area. They don't allow it.
Right.
So, and I did serve with a couple of guys over in Germany that had been through the White House previous to this. And one of them was already an E7, and he had only been in for 7 years. I was like, geez.
Could be good or could be bad for your career, right?
It could have been great. I could have made a lot of rank had I stayed in, because that would have been my choice out of the two of them, because I'd heard nightmares about being Fort Huachuca. So, I mean, not that you get better assignments being at the White House, even though you're going to be TDY all the time. Fort Huachuca, you're going to be TDY all the time, and they're not exactly the greatest assignments.
Right.
They're going to put you in the biggest shithole they can, and you're going to do your job there. Leastways with the White House, you're going to go to where the White House staff is going to be in advance of them. You're going to set up their communications for them, and then you're going to stay after they leave, tear everything down. So better assignments. But I was like, at that point in time, I'd already been accepted to music tech, and I was just like, no. I saw those orders, and I was just like, the thoughts in the back of your head as you're looking at this paperwork going, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
We don't ever get the advantage of knowing what would have happened if we'd have done something different.
Right.
I mean, we just know what happened because of the path we took.
Yep.
I'm curious, how did you, why music tech in Minnesota? How did that connection happen?
It was something that it was an ad that I saw in one of the guitar magazines that I was subscribed to. And in fact, I think it was Guitar Magazine. So Music Tech was advertising and those things. And I just happened to see, hey, Music Tech, look at that. And I sent in an audition tape to them, and they came back and went, yeah, you're accepted. I'm like, well, that wasn't too hard.
Right. Awesome. Here I come, Minnesota.
I was an average guitar player at best.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess I knew enough, or, you know, I had a decent enough knowledge of the instrument that they were like, oh, yeah, come on. Okay, fine. And so I got accepted there, and we moved up that direction after coming back to Janesville, and really never looked back from there. I mean, I ended up being up in Minnesota for 30 years.
Yeah. In fact, you still have a Minnesota phone number.
I still do. But yeah, that was one of those things that wasn't going to change.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I know others who have moved down here that have changed and gotten an Arizona area code, but at this point, it's like everybody knows. I've had that same phone number for 25 plus years.
Right. When that comes up, people know who's calling.
Yep.
Absolutely. So talk to me about Music Tech. So you get there and you start school. What's that like?
Well, for me, it was a blast. Because it was, again, just like with basic training or anything else that I was doing, it was somewhere I wanted to be. And I was going to throw everything into that. And, you know, I was there sometimes up to 12 hours a day because after classes were over, I would sit there and either work on stuff or work with other bands that were in there, do ensemble type things. And, you know, because there was so many talented people there that I was just in such a learning mode that it was like, oh, yeah, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. Soak it up like a sponge.
Oh, I did. I soaked it up like a sponge. And, you know, I was going through as a guitar major, but I ended up playing other instruments more than I actually think I played guitar. Because while I was there, I mean, we had a ton of guitar players. Just a ton. I think we had over 300 people in that class, and the greater percentage of them were guitar players. And so we went, you know, there was always a need for somebody to play bass in one of the ensembles. They always needed a singer. Some of them needed a drummer, you know, because there wasn't that many of them. So I was like, give it to me. I'll do it. And so I did, you know, there was one Friday concert that out of the 8 bands that played on Friday, I was in 7 of them. And the student activities director, before that show started, said to me, he goes, well, you're in almost every band. He goes, why don't you host the show?
Oh, like, very cool.
So I was the first student to ever host a Friday concert with them. And with me at the time, you know, just coming out of the military, I really had to watch my language because I had a bit of a potty mouth at that point. And
it happens to the best of us.
Yes. And I, you know, unfortunately got called on it a couple of times by the staff that, you know, you really need to clean up your language. You know, I'm throwing F-bombs around like, you know,
oh yeah,
didn't cost nothing.
Yeah. Why not?
Yep. And, but I still remember the one, because we got told under no circumstances during the show were we to say the F word. Okay. And one of the songs that we were playing was by Wasp, and it was called Animal, quote, fuck like a beast.
Yeah.
So you had to say, fuck. Well, we couldn't. So what did we do? We taped fuck to the back of the guitars. School administration was there watching. Everybody in the audience yelled it.
Yeah.
When we came to that point.
You guys didn't say
We
it,
didn't
right?
say it.
Exactly.
We never once said it.
That's creative.
Oh, yeah. And one of the guys that was running the school was there, and he just looked at me and was like, well done.
We're going to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, well, they did. I ended up working there afterwards, too. So
did you graduate and then go right to work for them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I graduated from there, and it was just a 1-year course.
Yeah.
And So in 92, I started working there, doing maintenance. I was teaching some private lessons at the time too, but I was doing maintenance at Music Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like the be all do it guy. We need these shelves put up. Okay, yeah. We need this wall fixed. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I could do it.
Now, were you playing in bands while you were working there then?
At that time, yeah, I did have my own band. It wasn't really doing much at the time. We weren't playing too many gigs. The entire time that I was over in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
I played in a band while I was over there.
Okay.
So my off time, I was spent off. We played the NCO circuit, and we were in a fairly popular band
Mm-hmm.
over there at the time. And like I said, we just traveled all around Germany, hit all the NCO clubs, and had a blast with it. And that's one of the reasons why, when I sent in my audition tape, well, I was pretty well rehearsed at that point in time,
Right.
but there was nothing special about what I did. It was just, I am playing a bunch of rhythms and here and there, throwing a couple little short leads, not letting them know that I suck as a lead guitar player. I know this. That's why I play bass now.
Right. Good point. Well, I'm curious about something. I mean, basically music's been a part of your life. Do you ever remember like where there's a point where you knew that you just loved music, like that it was just a part of you? Did you, like, was there ever like an aha moment where you realized that was kind of your passion?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching, believe it or not, Hee Haw.
I love Hee Haw.
I love Hee Haw, but Buck Rogers and that red, white, and blue guitar,
Yeah.
and watching, Roy Clark go at it, and I'll see that, and, just the aha moment where your eyes open wide and go, I want to do that. I want to know how to do that. And after that, I think I was like 6, something in there. My parents did get me the toy Buck Owens red, white, and blue guitar. So
Which could be purchased at any dime store.
Yeah. And then after that, that's when I told Mom, I says, I want to get some guitar lessons.
Yeah.
And that was the whole, we're going to learn piano first. No, I don't want to learn piano. I just want to learn guitar. And they got me a nice, big, fat, flat acoustic guitar. It was a K. I remember the brand name was a K. In fact, I just had it up until not too long ago. But yeah, I started learning on that one. And then a couple years after that, I got my first electric guitar.
Uh-huh.
And it was just downhill from there.
That was a game changer, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, getting the electric guitar and then learning the do's and don'ts. We were working with electric guitar and, the feedback issues and,
Right.
How you dial in your distortion and all the rest of that, because not only did I have my nice little tiny,
Your
tiny little
practice
guitar,
amp?
my little, tiny little practice amp and my, again, another K guitar because the music store in town, that's all they sold was K guitars. So it was a Gibson SG ripoff.
Right.
So it was red and almost, it looked similar to Angus Young's guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that and I was like, yeah, I want that.
It's got your name written all over
Got my
it.
name. At the time, I was a huge Kiss fan. I still
yeah.
love Kiss, but
Yeah.
Ace Frehley was the reason why, I wanted to play guitar because I wanted to be the spaceman.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, but we were looking at all the, if you looked at like Gibson guitars at the time and stuff like that, try to get a Les Paul. Mom and Dad were not going to afford a Les Paul at that point in time. Even back in the 70s when it was, much cheaper, that was still a lot of money. And, my little $100 K guitar was, okay, that's in the budget.
It got you there.
It got me there.
Absolutely. Why is Kiss so polarizing? Because I feel like there's no fence sitters with Kiss. Like people either like Kiss or they don't like Kiss.
Well, it's a situation of you either get it or you don't.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up on it.
Yeah. I love Kiss. I love the whole, makeup gimmick and everything on the rest. The music, I still love the music and everything like that, but it's cock rock.
Yeah.
They're singing about their conquests and stuff like that, but you know what? That's what I wanted to hear.
Right. What preteen, teenage boy doesn't want to hear that. I mean, I remember Detroit Rock City playing on an 8-track tape player on my front porch. Like, I remember those days.
Yeah.
And those were good.
Remember wanting to play that song, and now I pretty much every time I fill in, I play that song.
You're obligated to,
I'm
right?
obligated to play that, and that one in Rock and Roll All Night.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of great Kiss songs that are, B-sides and buried deep in an album somewhere that people don't even know. They're just amazing, too. You play that at a concert, people are like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Who did that song?
Yeah.
That's an old Kiss song.
No.
Deep Cut. No, they didn't do that. That almost sounds like music. They don't do that.
That's right. Yeah, their stuff was a little rudimentary, but it was great. It was great music anyway.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I mean, literally till the time I hit high school, I didn't listen to anything but Kiss. My first album was Andy Gibb, Shadow Dancing.
Oh,
That's the first one I ever bought on my own. Wow. And then I bought ABBA, the album. And then I was introduced to Kiss by my next door neighbor. And from there on out, nothing but Kiss.
Right. My first album was Blondie, Parallel Lines.
There you go.
I still have it.
Yeah.
I still play it on the old turntable.
Some of my vinyl is still sitting in my parents' attic.
Yeah.
One of these days I should see if it's still there.
You got to bust that out and play it, because nothing sounds better than that.
No, well, I don't even have a turntable any longer, so.
Yeah. But we digress. So we're in the mid-90s now, and we're
in the mid-90s, and I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm working in Minnesota. I got my band going, and which was named Bones Gang at the time, because I took that from the fact that my nickname was Bones. And I was bringing together the people, so it was my gang. I had to explain that to a number of people. Where do you get the name Bones Gang? It's dumb. It's,
it's out there, though.
It's out there. It was Bones Gang. Yay, all right. And it was a 3-piece band. And our guitar player, one of my good friends, he had hurt himself at his job and was not going to be able to continue on with the band. And that's where our drummer, Blake, came in and said, he was still going to music tech at the time, and said, I know a guitar player. It just happened to be your brother.
Yeah.
And that's where we started playing together. And we did that for almost a year and a half. We did Bones Gang together. We had some success with it. It was really hard getting any footing in the area. And then I got an opportunity to join up with an established band up there, and I moved on, just folded my band. And about 9 months or so after joining that band, Brooke gets a hold of me again and says, hey, I got an opportunity with this other band. He goes, and they're going to need a bass player. I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to him about it. So I was with Hitchhiker for 1 year. And that's where I got to do all kinds of stuff. We were signed with an agency in the area. These guys, the guys that were in Hitchhiker, were big names around the Minneapolis area in the 80s. So in the 90s, they were still going. And so we got to open up for a number of national acts that year, just in that year alone. Opened up for Quiet Riot, Foghat, Nazareth, Kansas. Now I can't even remember which other ones, but it was.
You had me a Foghat.
Yeah, Foghat was great.
Foghat.
And those guys, it was hilarious because we got to sit down and eat with them and everything, and they were just tickled pink that anybody would remember who the heck they were, because they're from Scotland.
Yeah,
and they didn't think anybody in the States really remembered who the heck they were. I was like, no, and they were so much fun. God, what a blast! We had so much fun with those guys. I wish I could have done it again. At least before Lonesome Dave finally passed. But yeah. So, and then at the end of that year that I was with him, that's when Brooke was, trying to throw the fishing hooks and hey, come here, you want to come this way. So we ended up being both together in a band called Bad Jack after that. And that unfortunately only lasted probably about 9 months before the guy running the band just pretty much couldn't stand Brooke anymore.
It happens.
It does happen,
It happens.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we didn't, that one folded. I was not doing anything for a while. Went into one of my instructors from Music Tech had a band called the Kilowatts, and they were in need of a bass player. So I hopped in with them for a while. And who come knocking at my door again? But Brooke.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to start my own band. He goes, I really need your help. Okay, what? And
Yeah.
so he had another friend of his, Chris Morehouse. He had another friend of his that was going to do the bass at the time, and he never really told me what went on. Just that they must have had a spat.
I'll bet it was a great story.
I'll bet it was a great story,
It was a great
and
one.
I bet you he probably could have made it into something that was, took 3 hours to tell.
Yeah.
But Chris was out, I was in before they even got any gigs on the books and everything. So I started doing that. And
So what band was this?
that was Novocaine Tongue,
Okay.
the band that eventually became Hairball.
Okay.
So I was their first bass player.
Who was their front man then?
Jack was, at the time I was in, it was Jack.
Okay.
And he was the first singer. And they had one guy after that. I was like number one of like 8 bass players
Uh-huh.
that went through that band in the time, just in the couple of years they were Novocaine Tongue before Chainsaw.
Sounds like a meat grinder.
Well, the way Brooke ran things,
Yeah.
it was kind of hard to keep up with, and I was working a day job. That's the reason why I quit. It wasn't because of anything that Brooke did. It was because, we were running so much and we were traveling so much that I was working a day job, and I was like, dude, I can't keep going like this.
You had to be in or out.
Yeah,
Right?
I couldn't fully commit to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, we got to move on here. And then I ended up back with Bad Jack again after that. For another couple of years, we did one album during that time. And then that all fell apart. And the guys from Bad Jack, we moved on. The guy who owned the name Bad Jack didn't move on with us. We had some issues with him. He had some alcohol issues, and it was like, I've got to be out of this.
Yeah.
And the other guys were like, well, we're going to come with you. Okay.
Take us with you, please.
That is exactly what my
Yeah.
guitar player said. He goes, take me with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, for what? What have we got? Well, we got, a 3-piece band. Okay, great. So went on Bones Gang again, resurrected Bones Gang, and we were Bones Gang for probably about close to 8 years.
Oh, okay.
And ended up that we got hired on with an Ozzy tribute. He wanted the entire band. And actually, during that time, Brooke had come back into Bones Gang.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing with Hairball went south, and he didn't do anything live with anybody for a while. And then I was about ready to switch out guitar players. We did have a second guitar player for a while, and he just wasn't working out. And I know he had gotten angry at me before when I hadn't asked him to do certain things. So I was like, this time I went to him first and go, well, I'm looking at changing guitar players. Would you be interested in doing this?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd like to do that. So he was in for about 1.5 years again before we decided to do the Ozzy tribute. Mm-hmm. And we did the Ozzy tribute for a couple of years, and then I quit and went back to school. And I ended up after that playing with Brooke again in Toy Box.
I haven't even heard of that band.
Well, that was northwestern Wisconsin.
Okay.
And our guitar player, I played with him for 1 year, and their guitar player decided he was out. And I said, Brooke.
So when you went back to school, I'm just curious, when you went back to school, did you go back to like school, or you go back to music school?
When I left the Ultimate Ozzy band, I went back to college.
Okay.
I was actually going to try to finish up, at least ways get my associate's degree.
Yeah.
And I did almost 2 years there, and I took one summer off, and when I came back, they had raised the tuition to the point that even my GI Bill wasn't covering.
Wow.
So I was like, no, I had all these student loans out and all the rest of this stuff, and I'm like a few credits short of getting an associate's degree, and I've never needed it. Because with the training that I got in the military, once I got out, I mean, I had all that electronics training, all the rest of that stuff. I mean, they pretty much set me up for life.
Right.
And from there on out, I've never needed a college degree unless I wanted to be management.
Right.
And so I went back because I was thinking, maybe I'll, try to finish this off, make my parents happy and maybe, get a chance at maybe doing something other. But as I was going through and doing all that stuff, I realized, I don't want to be management. I like being the guy that does stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a systems engineer. I like being the guy that does stuff. So I build stuff now, and it's all remote access solutions, and it's fun. I have a good time doing it. So I gave the college a try, and here's a good one from college. I had one college instructor that did not realize who he was dealing with.
Oh, okay.
And he was a huge liberal.
Uh-huh.
And I had made a crack at one point in time. I had cracked a joke. The line from Ferris Bueller, Bueller, he took offense to this because of who said it. Because he was a bit conservative.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Stein.
Yeah, Ben Stein.
He started giving me the riot act about Ben Stein. And I'm like, do you realize who you're dealing with? I'm not one of your 18-year-old just out of high school college students.
Right.
I was 42 at the time. And look at him, I go, how old do you think I am? And he goes, well, I imagine you're in your early 20s. I said, no, I'm early 40s. I go, I'm ex-military. And you know what? I look him dead in the face. I go, I'm paying you to teach me this stuff, not to give me a class on liberal economics or whatever. This is an English class. Just teach me English. And I ended, I kind of cussed him out in that situation because it's like, listen, I'm paying you.
Yeah.
This is coming out of my pocket. And kind of talked him down from all this stuff. And I still ended up getting an A in that class.
Sounds like he respected you.
I think he did respect me.
Or he was afraid.
Well, I think he actually, it was respect after I kind of put him in his place and just, because you hate having to do stuff like that. But when people go that far off the deep end, you're getting PO'd about, I don't like this person. He was a character in a movie.
Right.
He was, I don't care what else he did. He was a character in a movie. I'm doing the line from the character in the movie. Just smile.
Right. That's when you could have said, lighten up, Francis.
Yeah.
Give him a whole different movie to be pissed about. Right?
Yes.
So you end up, so the last band we talked about was Toy Box.
Toy Box.
And you're still living in Minnesota at this time?
I am still living in Minnesota.
Okay.
That was right around the 2011 time point.
Okay. All right.
And Brooke was back with us. And that one with Brooke again only lasted about 9 months. And that had nothing to do with Brooke, actually. That one had to do with the fact that there was a married couple in the band and they were breaking up. So the whole band was done.
So speaking of married couples, we're in 2011. Are you remarried yet?
I had gotten remarried in 1994. So when I first met Brooke, he had come over to my house in Brooklyn Center. And that's where we started, talking about the band and, him sitting down and jamming with us and everything. Yeah. He got to meet my second wife. Okay. So most people that know me never knew my first wife.
Right. So how did you meet your second wife? I want to hear this story. Like, I don't want to skip this part because I think it's important.
It's a dating service. I went through Great Expectations after I got divorced.
Oh, did you do a video?
I did.
Oh my God. Do you still have it?
No.
Oh, I would love to splice that in.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. How about this? If I had it, I'd burn it. It was horrible.
Do you remember SNL did a takeoff on that called Lowered Expectations?
Yes.
So before internet dating, there was video dating or
I went the video dating route, and yes, by the time we ended up getting married on that whole thing, she thought that because you see the videos and all the rest of that stuff, and that you make your choices,
right,
and then you're given a phone number and you're expected to call. Well, I hadn't called her after she had said yes, and I hadn't called her for a couple weeks after that. Well, it just so happened I got pneumonia. I was sick as a dog. I was down on my behind for that long. And finally I gave her a call after I got healthy again. And she's like, well, I didn't think you were ever going to call. I'm like, well, yeah, I told her the situation. She goes, oh, well, and I told her about all the medical bills and everything that I'd run up and all this. And she goes, oh, I'm a medical biller. Oh, well, maybe you can guide me through some of this stuff. And at that point, I don't know if it was just because she was 7 years older than me, and clock was ticking, and she really she'd never been married before, and she wanted to get married.
Yeah.
And so we moved on, got married, and had kids a couple years later. So we got 2 kids. Now, oldest one's going to be 29 in June. Yeah, June 22nd. He's 29. So I got one that's 29 and one that's going to be 27.
Wow.
And but that unfortunately was not to make the long haul either. So I ended up divorcing her in 2015. So it was almost 21 years of marriage.
Okay.
And
you got 2 great kids out of it,
I got 2 great kids out of it. Well, I got 1 great kid. I got 1 daughter who's gone off the deep end, loony Antifa liberal.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, we'll just move on from there.
We'll move on from that.
So you were still in Minnesota 2011. You're still married
to my second wife.
To your second wife. And then, so what happens from 2011? I just want to get the story on the second wife.
Around 2011, I hooked up. Once Toy Box and all that fizzled, I was also with another band where I was just the lead singer.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to get back to playing bass. So I started looking around and found a band that was needing a bass player. And it just so happens that it was the band that changed my life. Because I ended up, ends up that my third wife was the one that hired me for that band.
Okay.
So she was the lead singer of that band, and I got hired to play bass in there, and ended up that after a while I ended up becoming the co-lead singer with her. And then I was out of that band for about 6 weeks, and Brooke wanted me to do something again. So we were setting this whole thing up, and I got the call from Alicia again from Lady Luck saying, well, the bass player that they had hired to replace me had tore his Achilles tendon working on his car. It was rolled off the ramp, and he tried to catch it, and he caught it, ended up tearing his Achilles tendon. That time he couldn't stand up anymore. So they asked, well, will you come back? Just, temporary to take the show. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, just as long as it's temporary. Well, I did about a month's worth of shows with him, and they called a meeting and said, we want you to come back full time doing this. I was like, oh boy, because I had already been setting up this stuff with Brooke.
Right.
Doing the stuff with the guys with the drummer that we were playing with in Toy Box, and his son, who was a singer, that we were going to do this whole thing up there. And I had to back out of it and go, well, I got to go back with Lady Luck because they've already got the gigs and they need me.
Yeah.
And that one, again, one of those situations with Brooke that he was rather irritated with me, and he didn't speak to me for about 6 months after that. And then after that, he calmed down, and we got back to recording.
Right.
So, and we were recording right up until about early 2015. And that's when he finished up with the Project Killer Bees album. And then all of a sudden, we were talking about doing another album, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I'm moving to Arizona." What? You're closing down? You're closing your business down, and you're going what? Huh? It just, for me, it came out of the blue because he never discussed moving anywhere.
Right.
And he, of course, in true Brook fashion, he was like, "Yeah, this place sucks. I can't stand Minnesota anymore." He said,
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. So Project Killer Bees got one album out of the gate, and then that was it.
That was it. Yeah, we had done some spot gigs here and there, just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a two-man show going on while I was still in Lady Luck, that we would go out and just croon.
Yeah.
And he had all the tracks backing for us. So, before anybody else was doing the karaoke thing or the rest of the stuff, we already had backing tracks and all the rest of the stuff. So we were.
Oh yeah, there's a million guys out there now with a guitar and a backing track.
Exactly.
And they're singing. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trailblazers.
Yeah. Once again.
Once again.
Once again.
Just $1 million idea that we just stolen from us.
Yeah. So he splits in 2015, and then you're still with Lady Luck, though.
I'm still with Lady Luck.
In more ways than one, apparently.
Yep. And I had, at that point in time, early 2015, I had asked my wife for a divorce.
Right.
The second wife for a divorce. And the way it all fell together was crazy. I keep telling everybody there was divine intervention on this whole thing, because I had no idea what Leisha, my current wife, felt about me at that point in time anyway. But we had been riding together for close to 4 years to all of our gigs, and we were playing quite often. So we were in the car for long periods of time together, and we got to talking a lot.
Yeah.
And ended up that once I told her on one of the rides that now I'm asking my wife for a divorce. I can't take this anymore. And immediately the floodgates kind of opened at that point in time. She's like, oh my God. And boy, I tell you what, she put that hook out right away.
Yeah.
And we ended up moving in together in September. I got divorced in July. We moved in together in September. And then we got married 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we moved down here to Arizona in 2021.
So what brought you to Arizona?
I gotten hired. We were looking at other places that, potentially, like say after I retired, where are we going to move when we retire?
Yeah.
And we had 3 choices laid out. We were either going to go Orlando, Phoenix area, or Las Vegas. And we really liked Vegas and Phoenix. We're like, cool, and then just put feelers out there. Next thing you know, I had 2 job offers from Phoenix. The first one I couldn't take because they wanted me down there in 3 weeks.
Right.
And I was like, guys, I got to sell my house. I got to move all. This isn't going to work. The second one was for Circle K. And they were like, no, take your time. Okay. So it took me about 3 months to get down here, but we got her. And again, the divine intervention on all this stuff. We were looking for houses, and we had real estate agents on the ground down here looking for us. And they were doing video tours for us because it was, during COVID.
Right.
And it just so happened the house that they were it was like probably the first house that we were looking at. She takes us through, walk through tour and the video and all the rest of the stuff. The workers were still in there working on it and everything. By the way, this house has no offers on it. We're sitting there at my wife's desk, and she's looking at it and just giving it the long. And I go, she goes, what? I go, so put in an offer.
Right.
Well, for how much? I go, asking. Right off the bat, put in an offer for asking. And they were like, okay, good. So they took the offer, and they said, all right, at that point, we're going to give it till the end of the week, and we'll let you know on Saturday. We put the offer in like Monday night, something like that. And they said, we'll let you know on like Saturday. We get a call on Friday. Yeah, you know what? It's yours. What? I guess there was 2 other offers that came in, and both of them, they lowballed it.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, and I got money off for being a veteran. So another good thing that the military had done for me.
Absolutely.
And so we went from one house to another house. There was no jumping into an apartment or any rest of that stuff. We only had to move once.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Got down here and it was like, this is super. I love this. And, that one again was almost 100% remote position. I had to come into the office once a week, and the offices were in Tempe.
Yeah. Yeah. Florence isn't that much of a drive.
That's about an hour, but yeah. And from there on out, like I said, I saw the writing on the wall. I was only there for 2 years, and I saw the writing on the wall that the higher ups didn't appreciate American workers.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole lot of talk going around, and just with the meetings and everything that were going on, you really got the impression that they thought that American workers were overpaid and lazy.
Yeah.
And they really didn't like us. Well, I got the opportunity to jump ship and go with who I'm with now with Common Spirit Health.
Mm-hmm.
And I got out of there, and like 2 months after I left, they outsourced everyone in IT. And I was like, my old boss was like, yeah, you got out of here at the right time. I'm like, yeah, I did. Another divine intervention here. I was told to move on. I moved on.
Yeah. And now you're living your best life.
I am living my best life. I am really enjoy the team that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of refer to it as semi-retirement because, I work from home 100% of the time. I get pretty much as much time off as I want. I mean, they give you PTO and stuff like that, but for, days like today, I'm going to go to this. Okay.
Sounds like a great place to be.
It is a great place to be. The team is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think hopefully it's the last place I ever work. But, being down here and then, being part of the Legion,
mm-hmm.
I transferred over from my post back up in Minnesota where I was first vice, and came down here, and I transferred my membership down here, and we didn't do anything with it for a few years.
Right.
And finally, just this past year, I decided to get more involved in it. I was telling my wife, I go, yeah, I'm paying for this thing every year. I didn't go to paid up for life, but I, enjoyed. And we come down here. We used to come down here and sing karaoke and drive everybody nuts because you got 2 pros coming down here singing when everybody else is a karaoke singer. And
you're making everybody look bad, Brad.
Literally, there were times when we walked in, and we heard in the background, "Oh God, they're here." Like, sorry, guys.
Not really the welcome you were looking for.
Well, they all know us now, and they're they like us. So
yeah,
I get where they're coming from because you got 2 ringers coming in, and everybody else is.
Right. It's like being in the golf tournament and having some PGA champion on your team. It's not fair.
Yep. So, and the commander before that down in here was not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we'd been through probably a couple of subpar commanders. The commander we have now is doing a lot for this place. And when he came up to me and asked me if I would take on an officer position down here, I was like, yes, because I see what's going on. And yes, I will be very happy to help you out in this. And of course, because I'm an IT guy, all the IT work goes to me. So
anything technical, even if it's not technical, goes to you, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And when you say he works. Because when I came in, you were telling me he's doing some maintenance here.
He's in the pantry. We've been doing. There's been a lot of stuff going on around here, and like I said, I chip in every Friday because we do. We have the big Friday dinners and everything down here, and I'm out there and back cleaning up the area, making sure everything is policed up out there. We don't have any cigarette butts on the ground. All the garbage picked up. The leaves are, the turf looks nice.
Yeah.
Again. So the commander was doing that before I took over. And, finally one of the meetings he asked, hey, I got to farm this out. Somebody's got to do this. And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah. One guy can't do it all.
Yeah. So, this has been being for this post. I really enjoy this post.
Yeah. It's a great post too.
Yeah.
Been to a lot of Legions. I'm there. They're all great, but this is, I don't know. This has got the Wild West feel to it.
It does. Well, yeah. And I love Florence.
Yeah.
The city is really cool. I mean, it still retains that Old West feel. And there's a lot of cowboys around here and stuff. And, you even, and, Fridays when we come in, they come in for dinner and, you got a lot of guys coming in cowboy boots and hat and everything like that. They're ranchers. They're, they work out here and it's fun to see it. And I love having them. And just, being around here now, the people are super nice. Everybody was very welcoming.
Yeah.
And,
was that a concern though, coming from coming from Minnesota out here? Were you concerned at all that maybe it wouldn't be welcoming?
You never know what to expect.
Yeah.
You hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Right.
But when we started coming in, almost immediately, even, when we were just coming in for karaoke, we really didn't do anything. We were always welcomed pretty well.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, since the turnover in leadership here, it's gotten very welcoming. And it's, I don't know, this place is done a 180-degree phase shift, and this place is running like a well-oiled machine now. And the little stuff that needs to get done is getting done. When you're done here, you can walk out to the side of the building and see the mural that's just getting painted out there. We just got the entire building painted, and they're doing the mural out there, and we actually got people working on the building. It's a 100-year-old building.
Right. Sounds like a lot of pride in it, though.
There's a lot of pride in it. Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, obviously we got floor work and stuff that needs to be done in here, but things are getting done.
Yeah.
And the commander leading the way, which is funny that, I talked to him about what he did when he was in the military and what his rank was and everything. And turns out, I was an E4.
No, imagine that.
I was an E4. I'm like, oh, okay. So here we go. We got the junior NCOs here running the shop.
The enlisted people get crap done. I mean, that's how it works, right? It would never operate without them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, like I said, I now spend quite a bit more time down here, especially with my duties as adjutant down here. So but most of the work I do is on my computer at home anyway. But, there's been certain situations electronically and stuff like an old commander essentially held out all the passwords for all the old accounts that we had. So guess who's spun up new email accounts, and I'm doing a new Facebook page for them. And me and my wife now is involved in all this. She's part of the auxiliary, and she just got elected president of the auxiliary.
Awesome.
So we have, officer and another officer.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll let you sing a little more karaoke when you.
Well, actually, they probably want us to come in and just do our own show.
Right. Yeah. Right. So we have covered a lot. I've learned a lot about you in the last hour and a half that we've talked. And as we wind down our conversation, before I ask my final question, I'm just curious, is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about as part of this?
Not that I can really think of.
Okay.
I mean, I've done so many things, and it is one of the things that I guess, my life, how I operate, not a whole lot of it's planned.
Right.
I just do stuff and end up, okay, this is the way I'm heading now. And that's what I've done. I mean, when I went into the Army, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Got out, went to music school, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And, ended up getting back into IT because of the, what I'd learned in the Army. And okay. And from there on out, it was like I just kept progressing into different areas. Started out in the refurb warehouse, overhauling machines, go on to desktop support. Next thing you know, I'm in desktop engineering. Next thing you know, I'm doing the server end of things. And it just kind of progresses from there. And I get to the remote access thing and working with Citrix. And that's where I've been for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, didn't plan it. It just happened that way, but it's working.
Yeah. That's what matters.
Yeah.
So it's really a great segue into my final question, and that is, if someone is listening to this 100 years from now, right? Neither one of us are going to be here, but the internet's forever, so this will be here. But if somebody's listening to this story and hearing about your life, what message would you like to leave them with?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Listen to God, and nothing's over till it's over. Just, if you feel like you're swimming upstream, turn around.
All right. Well, thanks again, Brad. I really appreciate you taking time out today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast and for helping us honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's veterans. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with others so more people can hear these important stories. To learn more about our mission, watch additional veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m.